and welcome back to Shift Today with Allison. My name is Allison Schuhase, and I'm your host. I'm so happy to have you here today. Well, I wanted to go ahead and touch on something today. I don't have a big story to share. I really just wanted to talk about three indications of how you know you're not listening to your inner knowing, which is your intuition. I have seen these three things happening so much lately that I wanted to bring them forward to your attention. Why? Because I want to help you invest in yourself. And if you can make a shift with these three things that I bet you're doing towards letting go maybe of some control, perhaps things will start to shift in your life towards what it is that you need. It might make you a little uncomfortable. It might be a little awkward, but trust me, these three things, if you start to recognize when you're doing these and then reverse and do the opposite, I would be very, very surprised if you didn't feel better about yourself and notice things shifting in your surroundings. So let's jump in. So I'm going to talk about three key indications that you're not listening to the intuition. So number one, ooh, yes, I am going to put a mirror up in front of you today, right? And I guess why? Why am I putting this mirror up in front of you? Because I've put this mirror up in front of myself numerous times. And I'm so grateful that I have learned the difference between these things so that I can shift forward. Okay. And you might even start to recognize when you start recognizing these things in yourself that you're not doing, and then you start making a shift towards doing the opposite, which is a more positive, authentic choice. You might start noticing then those in you who you've curated in your life who are doing these and potentially who you've learned them from, and then how to untangle yourself from these things so that all of you can start thriving forward. So let's get to it. Number one, how often do you feel stuck or feel like it's things that there's an impossible choice? Like you're so indecisive. You just cannot make a decision, right? How often do you feel stuck or indecisive? I mean, that's a question. So when you're disconnected from your intuition, decision making feels heavy, confusing, and you will endlessly be analyzing the pros and cons. How often do you do this? I used to do it. I used to do it endlessly. It's okay to not have a decision, right? It's okay to say yes or no. But when you're stuck in that trying, I'm trying to make a decision. I'm trying to get unstuck. Do you see the air quotes? I'm doing that air quotes right now. Why? Because you are indecisive. You don't know who you are. And this means you don't trust yourself. You are not trusting the choices that you get to make for your life. And that's a beginning point to deepen your connection with your intuition, is to understand, why aren't you connected? Well, number one, because you're struggling making choices. I don't care if you make the wrong choice, make a choice. Making a decision is leading towards either A, forward, or B, making another decision that will work out better. Just because we might get a no, and just because something might not work out, is still authentically making a choice. But if you are going over and over analyzing the pros and cons, worrying about what everyone else is going to think, you get that daunting, heavy feeling, and you're waiting for something else to happen so that you can make a choice. You're not making a choice, you're still waiting. So it's time to, instead of the natural pull in the direction, you feel lost and overwhelmed by external opinions. Why are you getting trapped in external opinions? Probably because you were taught to have plenty of your own, of everyone else. So if you are also telling someone else to doubt their decision, that's you telling them, don't listen to your intuition, listen to me instead. Oh, how does that feel? No, I'm expecting you to do this. Ooh, how do you like it if somebody says that to you? I expect you to make this choice because I've worked really hard and you need to do the same. Oof. How many parents say that to their kids? I don't want you to do this. I want you to go do this. You're not teaching your child to learn how to make choices for their own outcome. You're expecting them to follow what you expect them to do, which is you telling them how to live their life. How does that feel for you? If I told you, I expect you to listen to your intuition to live a better life. Expectations and intuition do not go together. It is my intention to bring these lessons to you to hopefully a light might turn on and you might be like, huh, you know what? I know what that feels like. And it's time for me to listen to that feeling within me. Let me shut down some of those opinions. Let me shut down some of those should shields and expectations. Let me shut down some of that yucky feeling of confusion and endless overanalyzing. And let me just see, let me just take a chance on making a choice to do this. I mean, I know you can make choices. How do I know you can make choices? You're listening to this podcast right now. That means you can listen to a choice. You're like, huh, I wonder what that's about. Let me check it out. Right? You know how to make thousands and thousands of choices. So why, when something within you is coming up saying, yes, let's do this, it's going to feel awkward, it's going to feel highly uncomfortable, but it's going to be the right thing. Why do you fear the trust within yourself? Why don't you respect yourself enough to listen to yourself? I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer that. So, number two, you keep ignoring red flags. Oh boy. You sense something is off, right? Maybe you go somewhere, you sense something is off with a person, perhaps an opportunity, a situation, but you dismiss it with logic or excuses. I understand we all have past experiences, which we're going to put up lots of barricades in our path, right? Because we don't want to get hurt. But we keep getting hurt because we're not listening to the right choices of what we need to do. Instead, we're following along with what we were told, right? Those conditioned behaviors, those habitual traditional behaviors. Instead of thinking, you know what, that doesn't feel good. I need to stop doing that and make a different choice. And yes, you might make a different choice and it still might not be the right choice that feels right, but keep listening to the intuition of what comes up for you. And then teach your child, teach your siblings, teach your husband, teach your wife, teach people at school, teach people at your workplace, teach strangers and neighbors by showing them, not telling them, by showing them what it looks like to listen to your intuition. Do you see people out there? Maybe there's people out there that you see and you're like, God, how come all the good things always keep happening to them? How come it never happens to me? Potentially, those people are listening to their intuition. And so success keeps landing in their path because they keep listening to the inner knowing of what is the right thing that they need to do, right? Power can be calm. Calming power is actually way more powerful than fierce power. So listen and keep Stop ignoring the red flags. Over time, you might notice a pattern of regretting choices when you ignored your gut feeling. I remember when I really, truly, about 20 years ago, started listening to my intuition and understanding what it was. I then had all these regretful moments of the past where I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I listen? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I was ready. I wasn't ready. And then I grew, right? I listened to my intuition. Then I grew up. I listened to my intuition knowing I needed to move to Colorado in my 20s. I did it. It was epic. It was hard. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. I was alone in a strange place that I wanted to be. I knew I needed to be there. I knew things were going to happen for me. I struggled for years financially, but I would not take it back for anything in the world because I kept listening and I kept having incredible experiences that laid me in the path to where I am today, right? So instead of, I remember when I announced to my family, I was moving to Colorado. I'll never forget this. I would talk about a flag that was waving in my face as I had a family member call me and tell me how disappointed she was that I was so selfish that I was moving across the country away from my family. How could I do that? An aunt was telling me this, and I was like, well, this is the right thing for me. How selfish, right? How many times do people tell you something? Don't do that because it's making me feel uncomfortable. Well, that's their problem. If somebody is uncomfortable by a decision you're making that is healthful, it's going to open up doors, it's going to be abundant for you. And it's a healthy choice. If somebody is not happy about that, I'm here to tell you that that is not your problem. Somebody else's feeling about a choice you are making is not your problem. It's theirs. Same in reverse. If somebody else is making a decision and you don't feel good about it, it doesn't feel good for you. It's uncomfortable, it's fearful. It makes you just very uneasy. Then step away because their outcome is their responsibility. Their red flags are their responsibility. Your red flags are your responsibility. And it's time we teach the next generation about red flags instead of telling them what to do with their life. Listen and ask them questions. What is it you want out of your life? If they don't know how to answer it, number one, they might be afraid to tell you because it goes against what you think they should do. So if we start softening those edges of expectations and really lean into the intention of love and living, you might be very surprised what can happen and how someone can surprise you in their growth. You might even surprise yourself in your own growth. So keep ignoring the red flags. Okay. If something feels off, an opportunity feels off, dot, time out, regroup, walk away, but do not overanalyze, right? Don't go backwards and get stuck in being indecisive. Number three, you're constantly seeking outside validation. Constantly. If you find yourself relying on others to confirm your choices or needing reassurance before taking action, it's a sign that you're not trusting your inner wisdom. This one is a tough one for a lot of people, especially if you're in the workforce. Why? We want constant validation that we're doing a good job. A lot of people do. I've heard from clients that they get upset when their boss doesn't recognize them, that they didn't get a promotion that they feel they deserve. They feel they deserve something and they're not being recognized. Why do you need validation? Why? Because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust and respect who you are. You don't know yourself well enough. If you're constantly seeking validation, it's time to pause and look in. Why am I not getting validation from so and so? Probably because you need to give it to yourself. Intuition often speaks quietly but confidently. Do you remember how I just mentioned earlier about how the most powerful power is calm power, not fierce fighting and needing validation power, but calming power. It's very consistent. It's softening, it's listening, it's intentional, and it's confident. You don't need excessive confirmation when you're aligned. When you are deeply aligned with yourself, you don't overthink. You stay away from those red flags. And you don't need validation because you are content in who you are. Is it nice to get feedback? Is it nice for someone to say, wow, what a great job you're doing? Absolutely. But what's more satisfying? Think about it from a professional standpoint. If you are expecting to receive a bonus every single year, well, guess what? The market will change, life changes. You might not receive it. And then your expectations are not met. And then, wah, wah, you feel like crap. How does it feel if this has ever happened to you that you got an unexpected bonus? Someone thought, wow, what a great job. Take an extra day off. Here's an extra 500 bucks. It's like, wow, wow, that is meaningful. That has so much more meaning in it because it comes with intention. You were not expecting it at all, right? How about a family member? Maybe somebody sends you a card unexpectedly. Maybe your child comes running into your arms. They can't wait to tell you something so exciting. Maybe a friend shows up to surprise you. Maybe it's somebody helps you when you drop something in the parking lot if you're loading your car. Those are meaningful moments. If you expect someone to do something and they don't follow through, like validating your feelings, then it's typically a turn negative, right? And you start swirling in this negativity, and then you turn resentful, even more resentful than you were before. The expectation. So now you have yuck on top of your expectations, and I call these shit shields. None of them feel good. Not one. And you won't recognize how yucky they feel until you stop. Literally, until you stop seeking validation, until you stop ignoring the red flags, until you stop no longer trusting yourself and you're indecisive. If you stop those three things for 1 week, I would be shocked that you're like, oh no, I definitely need to go back to being indecisive. It felt so good. I have to go back. I love the red flags. I love ignoring them and being in pain all the time with these yucky choices that I keep making. And I love trying to live up to everyone's opinions. And then when I need validation, I'm going to do everything I can and be as angry and frustrated with people who are not giving it to me because I like to be right and I need to be validated. Does any of that sound awesome? No, no, it doesn't. But that is what's happening right now. If you're not listening to your intuition, you're telling yourself, this is you sitting in front of the mirror. I don't trust you. I don't respect you. You're not good enough. Hold on. Let me get a list of limiting beliefs so that I can reaffirm how not good enough you are. How does that feel? Does that feel amazing? And then let's teach the next generation how to do that. No, it's time for the change. And it begins with you. If you are seeking change, these three things that you do with your intuition, if you practice these, staying away from indecision and just, today I'm going to be decisive. It's a yes or a no. No more maybe. If I see a red flag today, I'm going to avoid it. I'm just going to, period. I don't care what anyone thinks. I need to make sure I'm looking out for myself. I need to work on that trust within me. So I'm going to ignore these red flags. If something doesn't feel right, if a person feels yucky, if the situation feels off, I'm going to avoid it. Again, yes or no situation. And guess what? I am really good at my job. I am a really great mom. Yeah, I'm really good at this. I'm going to celebrate myself. Maybe I'm going to go buy myself some flowers. Maybe I'm going to take an extra 30-minute walk and celebrate myself tonight because I deserve it, because I'm doing a great job. And I might not be living up to what everyone else wants me to be, but I'm living up to who, and I'm discovering a deeper part of myself. And that, my friends, is what it feels like to listen to your intuition. Not every moment is going to be comfortable. Welcome to life. But the storm within you of chaos, with being indecisive, with running towards the red flags and needing all this validation through expectation, is not going to keep you fueling forward. It's not. It's going to keep you in the negativity, and it's going to keep you hugging on to the negativity of everyone else, of what they want you to hug to. So let's make some changes. Just for this week, take your own challenge on. Notice when you're being indecisive and say, okay, I'm stopping this indecision and I'm going to make a choice. It's either a yes or a no, period. And if it doesn't work either way, then I make another decision and another decision. You make decisions every day. You can do this. Number 2, I'm going to stop ignoring red flags. I'm going to listen when something does not feel right. If something feels off about an opportunity, if something feels off about a person, I'm not going to sit and poll 10 people. I'm going to listen to myself. I'm going to step away. I'm going to see what feels right. And then I'm going to face it head on, either go forward with a yes or a no. And then when it comes to validation, just this week, I don't need anything from anyone. I need to look myself in the eyes in the mirror and say, you got this. Or you need to take a rest because your capacity is low. You've been feeling a little overwhelmed. Let's take a little respite time. That is healthy. If you need any support during this challenge for yourself, let me know. Because I can promise you, if you start practicing strengthening this intuition with changing these 3 things, this is you strengthening that muscle within you. And I would be really surprised if you didn't think more about yourself in a positive light by the end of the week. So have a great day and shift today into a greater tomorrow. Bye-bye. This episode of Shift Today with Allison was created, directed, produced, edited, and written, and 100% done by Allison Chuhazi. That's me. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would subscribe, share this with a friend, rate and or review wherever you listen to your podcasts. and just end up having a beautiful day. See you next time.